let's get it.
Okay. Good morning, good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name is Emily Hove. I am part of the MGCI program management team here at Microsoft, and we've got an amazing event for you today. I will say, for maybe the last couple days of the year, Happy New Year, because this is our first event organizer training of the new year. And we are going to be talking about sponsors and sponsorship. So before we do that, I'm just going to run through our quick agenda. We'll do some introductions. Thanks everybody for throwing your names in the chat. Really appreciate that and where you're calling in from. And after the introductions, we're going to head into the main event, which is all about sponsors and sponsorship. I will say a big thank you to Wes Preston and Sharon Weaver, who are our hosts and board officers for MGCI, who pull all of this together. And we've got some amazing guest speakers today, in Sharon Sumner, who's dialing in from the UK, and also Mark Rackley is going to share some great things from the Ozarks. So before we get started, I just want to make sure, yep, we're recording, which is awesome. This is a digital event, and because this is a Microsoft event in collaboration with our MGCI community folks, we abide by our digital code of conduct. Microsoft is all about empowering every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more, and in that, our code of conduct is about creating safe spaces for presenting. So please be good citizens, treat our presenters well, treat one another well. We ask you to please either raise your hands or put any questions in the chat. We'll definitely be looking at that. So that's our code of conduct. And also want to share our MGCI mission and tagline. We came up with a new one at the end of the year, thanks to Russ for pulling this together. And we have agreed that MGCI is all about empowering global Microsoft communities with tools and training and resources to create impactful events and amplify diverse voices. I think this is a great event that showcases all of that. And we are all about learning, sharing, and growing. So I've said this, introduce yourself if you haven't already. I mentioned a bit about our trainers, Sharon and Wes. And I also want to share a little bit about our Microsoft team. We've got Caruana, who is one of our community leads, Heather Cook, who's our community manager, and Brian Hart, who does a lot of work behind the scenes making all this stuff happen. So big thank you to those folks as well. Also want to say that if you haven't discovered us already, you can find MGCI on MTC, which is Microsoft Tech Community. There's a lot of great information on there and ways to get connected. You can see our upcoming events, our blog posts and things like that. So please check MGCI out on MTC. I'll throw that in the chat. Ben, I'm missing from the slide. I'm here now. Thanks. Okay, cool. I also want to just say that we also have user groups on MTC. So if you're interested in learning more about user groups, or if you want to discover one, please check that out. That's a new feature. I think it was released at the end, or maybe September, October timeframe. So you can find that there on MTC as well. Okay, enough from me. Let's change it over to the main event, sponsors and sponsorships. And I want to introduce Sharon Sumner, who's going to kick us off.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, I think, for most of you. Afternoon, definitely for me here. Okay, so the sponsors and sponsorship stuff that I'm going to present to you today is a collaboration from a group of us who are part of a subcommittee for the MGCI. So that subcommittee has got myself and Mark in it, and we're looking at how we can help with the sponsors and sponsorship topic, how we can help people find sponsors, deal with sponsors. And so today I'm going to give you a little bit of a 101 of the stuff that we've put together for you that we think is top of mind about sponsorship. I also have Mark here, who I can see is now on camera. Hey, Mark. There he is. And behind the scenes, we also have the lovely Emily Mancini. We have Neil Patel and also Mike Madrini, all part of the subcommittee. So I didn't want to go without mentioning them as well. So what are we going to talk about? So on the agenda for today, I want to talk to you about sponsorship as a whole, what it means, and then I'm going to go through, you can all read, I'm not going to read that out to you, how we find them, what's important about them. The most important part on here is the sponsor interview with Mark. So Mark's actually done a recorded interview with one of the key sponsors, and he's going to talk you through some of the findings of that, and what's important about that feedback from the sponsor themselves directly. So what is sponsorship? So, and I think this is really important, that it is a relationship. It is a mutually beneficial partnership. Thinking that sponsors are thinking that it's just one way, that they're just going to give you money so that you can run your event, is, flawed thinking. We need to think about this as the partnership. And that's the best way to go about the approach for sponsors, and how we consider what a sponsor needs from us, not just what we need from them. So, we've got the fact that they want to have a presence at a community event is really key. These are the people that we want to look for, but we need to provide them back access to that community and, feedback from that community too. So why does it matter? And I've got quite a few slides here, so I'm going to scooch through a bit of a pace so that we can get to Mark and his interview bit as well. So sponsorship really is for four main groups of people. So it's really important for event organisers to have sponsors. It allows us to buy all the right things when it comes to catering, access, health and safety, room hire, all of those things. For sponsors, it's really important to get exposure, to get the reach into the audience. For communities, really important, because it allows us to put on better quality events. And really, it matters because of those long-term benefits, the relationship with the community and with key events and the communities. It's kind of a cycle. It's a nice big wheel that goes round and round, that allows us to keep doing what we do, keep passing on information, help the community grow. Oops, my button stopped working. I'll hit the manual button. So who are we looking? Who are these magical people that are going to give you money? Largely they come from these groups. So local businesses, if you are an in-person event, the people around you want the exposure locally. They know that people are going to come from a fairly local geography to come to your event. So it's important to approach those locally, not just national businesses. If you're online, slightly different, because everybody's local. So we need to have a think about who's going to get the right exposure from an online audience, who is looking for people that are predominantly online and attending events in their catchment. We're going to be looking at technology brands because we're in a technology sphere. If we were talking about crafting, then you'd want craft brands. But, think about it pragmatically, it's really the technology brands that are going to want to sponsor your events for the types of communities we've got on here. Service providers, so those people that are going to provide consultancies, professional services, business services, as well as maybe more locally recruiters, those that are looking for technical staff locally, again, if you're an in-person event. And then those that are looking for a national reach as well. So you're looking at clients like ShareGate, who want to be a bit more prevalent maybe in the US, not necessarily in other countries. So how do we find them? How do we find these sponsors? And it's really important. There are some really key platforms out there. Actually, one of the best ones is probably communitydays.org, which MGCI are fully behind, because on there we have the ability for you to be able to offer sponsorship packages, to offer the ability for sponsors to register an interest in your event. But there are lots of others. So you can put your event on Eventbrite, or several other of those platforms that allows us to get a bit more exposure in front of both audiences you want to attend and the sponsors that you want to bring to. And obviously, if you've got lots of people registering on there and the sponsors can see that your event is popular, it's really nice. They'll want to associate with your event. Networking at events itself. So when you go to other people's events and you see people that are actively sponsoring, obviously a really good target audience. And the event organizers generally don't mind you hitting up their sponsors for your own event, as long as you're not sort of in any way being disruptive to the event that's currently on. And then it's about connections. So MGCI is a fantastic community. We jump on calls once a month where there are up to a couple of hundred on every call. And this is a lovely community where you can just ask for help. The most fantastic people you'll ever meet who will just volunteer to help you. And event organizers, again, are one of those groups where if we've had a success, we want to share it with you. We want other people to be successful. It's not competitive at all. We want to share that knowledge and we want to share that success. So then how do you go about approaching a sponsor? And I kind of wish Emily was here because she's got a really nice angle on this, and it was her that brought this information together. So she was saying that really it is, again, about a tactful approach within your network or to those local businesses if you are doing an in-person event. Looking at bigger networks like LinkedIn or social media, Facebook, etc., that can also give you great exposure. There is a mechanism where you can get through MGCI, you can get more exposure for your event by applying to have that kind of to be sponsored, if you like, with social media posts, which the team will do for you. There's a form for that. I don't know if anybody's got the link for that, but I can put it in the chat later. And also then highlighting some of the benefits of your event on social media. So as you're promoting to your audience, you can then start following that up if you see comments from people who are from those larger organizations that maybe have a marketing budget that potentially could be sponsors, is a nice follow-up. Generally, in terms of sponsorship packages, so it's not one size fits all. Everybody has different things at different events, but there's usually you have like a gold, silver, bronze, or a platinum, or a diamond even, if they're kind of doing run of a certain room or etc. at an event. So your package type really needs to be tailored to your event space, your event type, etc. So what you can do then is give different visibility levels on both social media, on press media, or if you're doing any radio media locally, you can give different levels of exposure to those sponsors based on their level of commitment to you. And that allows you to have, it's expected that you would have many more bronze level sponsors that are perhaps on the flyers. Silvers are, maybe putting their swag in the giveaways if it's an in-person event, or you can kind of create an a la carte option where people can pick the bits that they want to do. Maybe they want to sponsor a food stand and also be on the lanyard or something, or above the door as people come in. And then there's also the non-monetary sponsorships as well. So I remember when we were doing in-person user groups locally, and there was only 20 or 30 people turning up. Microsoft used to give us a little bit of cash, and this is a couple of years ago now, give us a little bit of cash to buy the pizza. So it wasn't necessarily that they were providing money for us, but they directly bought the pizza. And you can get quite a lot of companies that be interested in doing that. Again, they might want to fund some of your event swag in exchange for having their little logo on it as well. So there's many different types of sponsorship that aren't necessarily giving you cash, but giving you help and helping your event get promoted. It may be that they just provide you social presence in exchange for being a sponsor. Lots and lots of different ways that we can leverage sponsor. So, talking of sponsors, let's pass over to Mark. Rather, I'll go quiet for a minute and let you tell us about your interview, Mark.
Sure. So, thanks, Sharon. You actually said everything that I was going to say, so I have nothing left to say. So I'll just be quiet. but no, so I did do an interview with ShareGate. ShareGate has been sponsoring events for, gosh, well over a decade now, wouldn't you say, Wes? It's been a long, long time now. And one of the important things when you're looking for sponsors is just like it's been said a couple of times now, is building those relationships with the sponsors, so that when you need to have that need to start, sponsoring, you need to find sponsors, you have those connections you can reach out to. And so I did do a interview with ShareGate. I went through and asked for them, like, what's some of the things they're looking for, what's been some of their good experiences, and just trying to get some good tips and tricks for really laying in those sponsorships. And some of the highlights from it are the fact that the sponsors really want to know how many people are going to be there, the makeup of who's going to be there. Is it going to be people who have the ability to actually make decisions? Is it going to be people that they can actually sell to? And what's in it for them? So it's, yeah, I've been sponsoring my event since 2009, and the sponsorship landscape has changed a lot over that time. Back in the early days, it was easier just to say, hey, come sponsor. But now there's a lot more of like, how can we incentivize a sponsor to show up, to be there, and how can we make it worth their time? So I think it is very much a partnership. It is very much a building relationships. And it's understanding what each sponsor wants best out of the event. Maybe it is, a lot of contacts. Maybe it's a lot of sales. Maybe it's just visibility for their product. They're a new product and they're trying to, just be seen by more people. There's lots of things that drive them. And I think one of the things the interview talks about is just finding out, what that sponsor is looking for to make it worth their time.
Thank you very much, Mark. And I think it is really important that when you are looking for, and we have a recording of that interview as well, when you're looking for a sponsor, that you are, like we said, taking that relationship into consideration. What are they getting out of it, as much as what are you getting out of it?
Yeah. And it's just a continual process. Like my event is in the Ozarks. It's in Branson, Missouri. So it's a place that's a little bit harder to get to. And so I have to try different things to get the sponsor to show up. And like you said, find different ways for them to sponsor. Maybe they can do fully remote sponsorship that you just put their logo and everything. One of the things that's worked really well for me is that I offer a sponsorship level where a sponsor gets a keynote session that so let me back up for just a second. A lot of times when we do the events, it's kind of important that sponsors aren't doing just sales pitchy stuff. We want them to be part of the community. We want them to not do a hard sell for people. So one of the things that I've done successfully is for just a couple of sponsors, I charge a premium, but they get a keynote session where the whole point of the session is to do a hard marketing pitch. And I make it very clear to the attendees, that's what this is. But it's also the only session that's available at that time. That's the session we do the giveaways in. We incentivize the attendees to show up to that session. They have a good reason to be there. But we also incentivize the sponsor that pays that extra dollar is make this a really good, entertaining session. Make this something that people will enjoy. You're free to talk about whatever you want to, but make it special for them too. And that's been very successful for us, helping us fund our events, because those specific sponsors, they actually cover a large percentage of our sponsorships. So it's been successful. Find out what's successful for you, what you have in your area. It is not an easy task to find sponsors these days, but you can do it. It's going to take a lot of work. Don't make it a bullet point that you're going to get to it. It needs to be something you prioritize. It's just as important as finding attendees and getting the word out there for attendees.
You reminded me then of the SharePoint Saturdays, where they used to have the giveaway right at the end so that everybody stayed for the end. And it was not a small giveaway. We're talking Xboxes and stuff. It was swag from every one of the sponsors, and it was a nice bit of extra sponsor kind of presence as well. So what does it look like in terms of life cycle? So, I mean, what we're really about is managing that kind of, we've approached a sponsor. We've then done whatever deal we're going to do with the sponsor, and then you really must follow through with whatever it is that you've promised for them. And if that is the ability for them to be able to contact people, that's got to be delivered in a really professional and good way for them to come back and sponsor again. Again, I've seen events where the sponsorship was in, but the sponsors were not handled nicely, and then they don't come back again. Whereas actually it should be a really good partnership. So it's worth thinking about when you're running your event, what resource you've got, volunteers or those that are part of the event, that's actually going to handhold and look after those sponsors. They are a really important part of your event. And again, they have a life cycle. They expect to be onboarded, to be able to deliver you swag by a certain time, that they'll get the presents that was promised, etc. And, repeat sponsors will reduce your work. If they come back again next year, the amount of legwork you've got to do to find new sponsors is massively reduced. And that's really the benefit to the event organizer. So then, and again, just following that through with transparent reporting, personalized engagement. Again, sponsors like to be talked to one-on-one rather than hi, group of sponsors, here's some information for you. As anybody would that is in a transactional relationship, you do need to give them a bit of love, and you do need to listen to their feedback for future events. And again, if you can get that nice relationship rolling, the chances of them coming back is greatly increased.
I could speak up for a moment too. Something, if you don't, sorry to cut you off. Something that's I've not heard it mentioned yet, but something you need to think about seriously. You are now working with taking money. And when you throw money into the mix, you got to figure out how you're going to handle that. I think it's very important that you, at least in the U.S., I'm not sure where the other, like around the rest of the world, but set up a nonprofit organization, set up an LLC, set up some sort of entity that is going to be working with the funds. It's going to help you from a tax perspective. If for some reason you decide to go big and you have all these financial liabilities, it provides you protection in case something happens too. So your house is not at risk. So it's just when you start dealing with money, it's very important with how are you going to legally handle taxes, handling the money, and also, again, protect yourself in case something does happen.
And again,
sponsors are going to be a lot more comfortable giving writing a check or whatever to blah 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 org instead of Mark Rackley. So
yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of experience in setting these types of organizations up. Everybody that's running a decent size event will have gone through this, especially in the US. It's more prevalent there to have these documentations at the bottom, the W-9s and the 1099s. So ask would be my advice here. When we started doing this, it's expected that you don't know what you're doing, but it's embarrassing to not know what you're doing in front of a sponsor. So come and talk to the community, reach out to us, and find out how others have done it. Again, everybody's more than happy to share. Anybody that's organised any size event is more than happy to share. And I found some really good people that I could chat to about how we went about setting up the organisation and getting that professional image. And I think one of those was like an e-payments option. So if you want to attract lots of smaller, so say they're funding an Amazon gift voucher or something, and they're sponsoring for a relatively small amount, but you've got a lot of them, it's easier to handle with something like an e-payment or a PayPal or a Stripe of some description. If you're doing big invoices, again, you've got to look the part, you've got to look professional when you're invoicing these large organizations to be taken seriously. So yeah, to Wes's point there, it's important how you come across. Okay, I'm going to stop talking so we can have a bit of Q&A and we can discuss anything that you guys feel like, okay, that's new to me. How do I get on with that? So key takeaways for me is there's not one way to do this. There is no right answer. Sponsors for your event are probably going to be not necessarily unique, but very much a different set than for somebody else's event. but we all share information about how we found them, and who the best types of sponsors are when it comes to relationships, when it comes to actually getting a sponsor to pay at the end of the day, and that transactional openness with the sponsors. So there's lots of ways to find a sponsor, there's lots of ways to engage with a sponsor, and there's loads of people out there in the community that'll help you through. I believe that's me done. So let's just open it up for Q&A. Where's Mark? You've put on a lot of events. I'm sure that, I don't know if there's any questions already in the chat, but I'm sure there's stuff that you can add on top of what we said there.
I guess something I might recommend if you are looking for sponsors is go to the expo hall of a conference, and there's a bunch of sponsors there, and talk to them, find out what they're looking for, let them know about your event. Is probably a really good way. I would say don't be overly aggressive if you do that. Don't be a pest to where they're going to complain about they're going to complain to the organizers that this person's going around trying to get money. But that's a good way to start those relationships, start the conversations, and maybe find some sponsors.
Okay, there was a comment there in the chat. It'd be nice if Community Days had a listing of companies that would like to sponsor events. It's something we're talking about to them, because there are obviously the sponsors themselves are looking for a specific type of event. They have criteria, so we have talked to them about how do we do that.
Yeah.
Sharon, there was also a question about how do you find out if the sponsor feels they got out of the event what they intended? What was their ROI, so to speak, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, literally ask them. They will tell you.
They will be very vocal about it.
Yeah, I mean, you should, as an organizer, you should be walking around the day of your event and making sure everything's working for them, and find out if things aren't working for them, and getting feedback on what could be better. I mean, that's part of building that relationship too.
Yeah.
In terms of swag from Microsoft, I mean, good luck with that one. There isn't much swag around anymore. It used to be such a big thing, right, at our events, and you don't get that as much. But what you can do sometimes is get permissions from organizations. I'm not saying necessarily that Microsoft is one of those, but to use the logo and then get a sponsor that's willing to pay for t-shirts, cups, etc. And you can co-logo it. We use the Community Days brand, the MGCI brand, on event sponsorship and well, not sponsorship, event promotion. That often works. And again, we've got a fantastic MGCI logo. So, if you want to use that on some stuff, then, I'm sure you'd be allowed to do that along with the Community Days brand. It is always difficult to get swag simply because of shipping, countries, logistics as a whole. So you are usually better trying to organize your own swag local to you, would be my advice.
There's one more thing you can do here in the States. I'm not sure if they offer other places. Actually, I've never seen this posted anywhere. So this may be like, maybe the first people I know of to actually know this information. I don't know if Wes knows this information. If you are a nonprofit, you can register with Microsoft as a nonprofit. Once you get registered with Microsoft as a nonprofit, if you have people helping you with your event that are Microsoft employees, they can actually log their time that they're doing to your event for that for their time for that, and you as an organization will get $25 per hour that they log helping with your event. So that's not a ton of money, but it's a little bit of money that can help.
I did not know that was a thing.
Nope. There's other vendors that'll give you stuff too. Like I think Starbucks has some offer for nonprofits where you can get coffee for free for your event.
Marvelous.
Sure, it depends on the logo.
Sometimes Microsoft Learn will be doing a promotion, and if you promote that event, people can get free exam vouchers and stuff like that. It's always worth looking into. I always follow Microsoft Learn because they're very good at offering things like that. Okay, here's one. So what's the easiest way to get a user group non-profit started? I haven't done that in the US, which I'm assuming that question is aimed at. Mark, have you done that?
So, I mean, what you want to do is you want to, I went through my accountant. So maybe find someone who understands these organizations, but you want to set up a 501c3. You'll register with the state as a nonprofit. You'll register with the federal government as a nonprofit. You'll get a tax ID, and you can use that tax ID for everything. From a paying tax perspective, as long as you bring in less than $50,000 per year, you don't have to pay any taxes or even fill out any tax paperwork. Just basically sign a piece of paper saying you made less than $50,000 and you don't have to pay anything.
Cool. And I see Neil is actually in the chat offering to help. Thank you very much for coming in. Okay, so any final words of wisdom, Mark, where's Sharon, if you're on, about event organizing? I mean, I would just say, do it anyway. It's really worth it. It is possibly the most rewarding and exhausting thing that you will ever do. It is great to get the feedback from the community about an event. They really do appreciate what you do, as do we.
I like to say that I started organizing an event because I wanted to throw a party for my friends and have the sponsors pay for it. And anybody who's been to my event hopefully feels that, right? It's a very fun, social, the people are excited to be there. I get speakers from all over the world will come because it's about sharing, it's about community, it's about education for people. Like the attendees get a lot out of it too, but that's kind of why I started doing it. So I do get to see a lot of my friends there. I do look for ways to have a fun time, let them experience a part of the country they've not been to before. So it's very rewarding. I love it very much doing it. I've been doing it for many years. And Wes is laughing for some reason.
A part of the country that people haven't been to. Yep.
Branson, Missouri. I've got stories.
We all have stories. Yes. And not to poo-poo all the excitement on stuff, but getting sponsored right now is hard. So just to set that expectation, I mean, some events are gonna find some magical sweet spot, and it'll be super easy for them to get the folks that they need. But the reality is that a lot of us are having challenges right now with running these events. And it's not because we're running them poorly. It's not because there's not demand from attendees. The economy is just dodgy right now. People are cutting back. People are being a lot more conservative with their funding. It's hard to put funding into an event when you're laying people off. There's a lot of reasons for it. So it's challenging right now. So lean on the community for finding people, for finding connections, for building those relationships. We can get us part of the way, and just establishing your event or the people that are running your event as someone that's legit, goes a long ways. So it is tough, but stick with it and kind of check the community to see if they can help and how they can help in any way that they can. So just a little reality check there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. It's not easy. And it is a challenge. It definitely is a challenge. And I think it's one of those things that if it's going to make or break your event, it is heartbreaking not to put on an event because you didn't get the sponsorship this year. And a lot of hard work, and hopefully we can all appreciate that, and maybe clap hands for those that are putting on the big events with the big sponsors, because there's a lot of hard work that goes into those relationships and making that happen. Okay, I think that's all we've got time for today. Emily, are you still there in the background? There she is.
I'm here. Yes. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Great information. We've got great resources and excellent questions from folks that you were able to answer. So really appreciate it. Sharon, thanks for presenting late in the evening over there and everyone joining. I will ask folks to take a moment, if you don't mind, to give some feedback on this meeting. Also, if you have more questions about sponsorship, or they come to mind, please throw those in the chat, because we're happy to do another session on sponsorship, because we'd love to dive deeper into this topic. Obviously, it's a hot topic for folks. So please do take a moment to give the feedback. Also, I did notice in the chat some people are running some events, and if you would like some community amplification across some of our social channels, please go ahead and use that form and make an amplification request. We'd love to put out and amplify the amazing work that you're all doing from a community standpoint. So there is that. And then let's see what else. I'm going to skip forward just a couple slides. I think, oh, of course, Wes and Sharon are pulling together all of these great trainings. Right now we've got a run of show. What the heck do you do the day of the event? So that's coming up on February 26th. There will be a slight break in March because a lot of folks are attending MVP Summit. And then just to keep you all on your toes, we'll be announcing what's coming in April a little bit later. So, but we will definitely resume in April. And
yeah,
then,
hey, Emily.
Oh, yeah, hi, Sharon.
Not to cut you off. I want to make sure you notice here. My camera keeps not coming on. I want to let you guys know. I would love to hear from you guys. Like, if you have specific topics that you would like us to cover. The reason this has not been updated is not because we haven't. I have it all behind the scenes. I wanted to hear from you guys first before I made the final decision. So I think at some point there was a survey that people filled out, but feel free to message any of us, email us, send us stuff, put it in the feedback. If you have topics you want us to cover for 2026, please let us know. And I'll have this all finalized by next month. So if you don't give me stuff, I'm just going to make things up for you. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, this is all for you all, so we want to hear, like Sharon said. Cool. All right. So please join on February 26th. Rejoin on April 23rd. And also want to take a moment to just talk about our MGCI general sessions. These happen the third Tuesday of every month. I think it'll be the second Tuesday in February because it's a little bit wonky in February, but we've got a great program for you for the general session in Feb. It is in advance of Women's Month, which is coming in March, but we will be doing a Women in Tech and Allies panel with lots of folks from the community joining. So mark your calendars for that on February 17th. And coming up in March, we'll be talking about nonprofits. So you can check all of this stuff out also on MTC, but there's a quick glance at what's coming ahead. And I do also want to mention that if you are interested in leading a session on our general sessions or leading a talk, love to hear from you. We're always looking for great speakers to impart their knowledge. This is also a very safe space for people to come and test out their material. So we really want to hear from you and give you the opportunity to have a platform to get your word out. So yeah, take a moment. I'll pop that in the chat too, if you'd like to be a guest speaker. And then I think we had some lessons learned. We had a lot of them in there, so we're good to go with that. Oh, and a quick plug for Mondays at Microsoft. Caruana and Heather host that. They actually have a lot of folks from the community on quite often, and they give news and product updates all across Microsoft. So check that out on Mondays. I think it's 8 a.m. on Mondays. And then, as always, everyone, stay connected. We've got tons of resources on Microsoft Tech Community. We're also on adoption.microsoft.com as well. There's a ton of resources there. We put communitydays.org in the chat, and look for Microsoft Community on LinkedIn. We give updates and talk about some of the cool events that we're doing on LinkedIn. So with that, that's a wrap. Thank you, everyone. You joined from all over. It's always good to see faces and see where people are joining from. We'll see you next time. Sharon, Mark, thanks a million. Wes, Sharon, everyone else, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Awesome
Bye.
work, everyone. Thank you. Bye.